I once joined.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with me, Sakshi Bahati is there. She is engineer from Indore, and she's doing childhood. How did you get these ideas, and how did you progress from Gujarat to the South Africa,
Right.
and yeah, and how the from the accountant from banking to the tech field,
Sure.
how did you come? Yeah,
Wow. That's a journey and a half, eh?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. I think I'll start with the first statement. I was part of one of the networking event a couple of weeks ago in Johannesburg,
Mm-hmm.
and I was sharing the panel with the co-founder of CNBC Africa and Forbes Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and when we got introduced just before we go live, because it was obviously 2 weeks ago, so it was a webinar, right? It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
a physical get together. So the
Mm-hmm.
guy asks me about myself, and he says, "Oh, you're from Gujarat, man, a land of entrepreneurs." So that's where
Mm-hmm.
the journey began. Gujarat is known to be land of entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
If I go back, yes, I am eldest of two siblings. My dad was a mechanical engineer, and he was a lecturer at government polytechnic. So very humble beginnings. We started with our parents couldn't afford to pay two English medium school fees, and my brother still complains that because you were the eldest, you went to the English medium school, and I had to go to Gujarati medium school. So that's
Mm-hmm.
that's how we started.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and at a very young age, we lost our dad. I was 19, and my brother was 17. So that's where the journey began. I mean, the next morning we were actually exposed to who will
Mm-hmm.
get the breakfast for us, and that's how we started. I
Mm-hmm.
was then a summer trainee at a company called Pepsi, so PepsiCo India,
Mm-hmm.
and I started as a sales supervisor. Basically, I wasn't a chartered accountant. I wasn't a graduate then. So that's how
Mm-hmm.
I started formalizing on how the land of entrepreneurs can actually materialize things into the balance in your bank account. So yes, it is
Mm-hmm.
easy to say that you belong to land of entrepreneurs, but it is never easy to translate those skills into the bank balance.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's how I started, and then I ensured that I managed to finish my chartered accountancy. My brother studied; he became a graduate management graduate and a commerce graduate, and
Mm-hmm.
then we both began our journey from there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he also started with his own exposure to corporate world, and then I started from Pepsi. I moved on to telecommunication. Then, after becoming a chartered accountant, worked for various multinational banks in India, which is ICICI Banks, Chartered, and
Mm-hmm.
Citi. And then I got an opportunity to move out, and I was part of Lloyd's TSB in London. So now it's two different banks in UK, Lloyd's and TSB. But in those days, it was one bank.
So which year did you move to London? Which year did you move to London?
I moved to London, I think in 2007, 2006.
2006 you moved to
Later
London.
part of 2006, and until 2010, I was part of Lloyd's TSB there. I moved
Mm-hmm.
across the geographies, across the roles, and I became area director for a geography called Midlands, which is Leicestershire, Lancashire, Leeds, and
Mm-hmm.
part of heart of England, part of the central England. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how the journey began, and then again, because of a lot of emotional decision makings, family couldn't go to UK. So I made a
Mm-hmm.
move that, okay, if my mom has to live between the two countries because of the visa constraints, I would
Mm-hmm.
rather decide as an elder son to move
Mm-hmm.
out of the UK. And in those days, one of my senior chartered accountant whom I did my articles with was a
Mm-hmm.
chairman cooperative bank, and he had a vision to take cooperativism to South Africa, because he was
Mm-hmm.
part of first delegation of Gujarat government going into independent South Africa in 1994. And then
Mm-hmm.
he said, Jigz, you're coming back from the UK, you've got the exposure to financial services, banking, and you are a chartered accountant. Why don't you help me in getting a banking license in South Africa? And
Mm-hmm.
my first reaction to him in 2010, just after the Football World Cup that was organized in South Africa in that year, which actually changed the economy of South Africa in those days. So my
Mm-hmm.
reaction to him was, I don't want to go to that jungle. And then when I
Mm-hmm.
came here, I started loving the jungle.
Okay. Okay.
So,
So
so
that.
that's how I ended up in South Africa.
Mm-hmm. And how's your journey in the South Africa? Once you landed up, you directly joined to that bank, or how did you progress in?
So as I said, my intention was never to come to South Africa after having an exposure to UK, and predominantly the decision was that I would love to be with the family in the same country. So I came here for a short stint to get a banking license from a cooperative bank. And then, uh, as I say, since relationship equity has always been my asset. So due to my relationship equity, I started making relations in South Africa. And then I got an opportunity to become part of one of the biggest banks in South Africa, which is Standard Bank. So I worked for a very small period with Standard Bank. And I decided that it's enough part of big corporates. I would rather do something on my own. So I became part of a fintech startup in
That
those days.
which year which year it was that?
So this was in 2012.
2012. Okay.
ACM Gold. It's a fintech company who used to provide platform for commodities and global currency trading. And we then started building our own platforms. Became a multinational brand. Then we were in Malaysia, we were in Eastern Europe, we were in Africa, and we were the first one to get a financial services license in South Africa in those days. So I was part of that business, and then we decided to sell the business out of. It's a very roller coaster journey, as typically a startup would go through. And then we eventually we found some success. We made in those days what we used to call it. We made a lot of money, and then we decided that then comes the learning part of it. Then me and my partner or the co-founder, we decided to invest that money and buy an airline in South Africa. So we were the co-owners of an airline called Skywise. And now we proudly say that we owned the airline for 100 days because we were grounded in 100 days, and whatever money we made in 4 years, we lost in 90 days.
Okay. So how many planes did you buy? How many planes did you buy?
We had 3 aircrafts of our own, and we were renting another 7, and we were only flying Johannesburg to Cape Town, which is one of the, it's like Delhi-Mumbai route, for South Africa.
Right. So,
and then we being youngsters, and we had in those times we had energy that we can fight it out with anyone. So we took, as we call it in India, we took panga with the South African government, and they ensured that we are grounded.
Okay.
So that's how we ended up. And then 2017 September, I founded a business which is Next360. So we are into cellular network, we are into fintech, and we are into insurtech as well. So
how did you get that idea came? Like how many days you took it, this idea, and how did it generate the idea?
It's an amazing journey. So basically, me and Irfan, who founded ACM Gold, we were together, and then because of this Skywise, he also was under a bit of depression. We all were like highly demotivated because we were very, very keen to take this airline industry to a next level. We were disrupting. We were doing a lot of stuff. We were actually the first one in South Africa in those 90 days or 100 days that we owned the airline. We used to give monthly passes to frequent travelers, which means you take a monthly pass and you travel unlimited between Cape Town and Joburg.
Okay.
We started disrupting, which obviously didn't go well with certain competitors, especially government-owned airline, the South African Airways. So that's where this panga came in. And then after that phase, we were, and there's a third friend of ours who was also into fintech. He's an Oracle certified professional. So Irfan originally is from Pakistan, so he moved back to his home country with this loss of Skywise and stuff. And then me and Deepak, the other friend, we were sitting one day, and he says, "Jigz, why don't you start something new? Join me in my office." And he, in those days, used to run BPO services for a company called VFS Global, the visa filing services, globally. So I said, okay, I mean, I had nothing to do in those days because we lost major chunk of money. So I said, look, I'll come and see you at your office. I went there for a couple of days, and I'm like, Deepak, I have no clue of what you're doing here. I'm not interested to sit between this 10,000 call center agents around me, and I don't know what call center means. So he then says, Jigz, lock yourself in your office. I know you since last 12 years. I'm sure you will come with something. So that's how the journey began. And then then I could go back and recollect or realign my entire journey from my age at Pepsi to my age at where we lost an airline. And I said, look, the first thing I've always done is travel a lot. And we travel between the two countries. There are two aspects or the two problems that we felt we could solve, because one is your roaming connectivity. So we always, when we travel overseas, the first thought comes to our mind is that I'll be paying a lot of money on my connectivity. But we don't realize that when we go overseas, we also are on a roaming on our bank card as well. It's not only the SIM card. Your bank also charges you a lot of administration fees, your currency conversions. So that's where the idea came that we will solve this problem for frequent travelers by providing them local connectivity and digital banking in the countries they move on. So that's where the journey began. And just like any startup, typically the first thought would come is who will fund the business. And then slowly but surely, I realized, and we basically then started looking at that there are five components, essential elements of a business that can lead either to a success or a failure. And those five components, in my humble opinion, were a good idea, good team, good business model, and funding and the timing. So all of these five components now, if you put it a mathematical equation on it, so it's 20% each, right? It's 20% each. So if you have enough funding, but if you fail with your idea, if you don't have the right team, if you don't have the right business model, and if your timing is incorrect, you will still fail. However, being an entrepreneur, we always feel that the only reason of our failure is we didn't have enough money, you know?
Yeah.
So then I started sequencing it, that what could be the first 20% or the major focus 20%. And then we slowly but surely started realizing that if our timing is correct in the markets that we go, if we have the right team, if our idea is correct, and then based on all this top three ingredients, which is timing, team, and idea, if we can create a solid business model, we don't actually need to worry about funding. You know, funding automatically falls in place. And that has become a reality so far for Next360 and its success, because as we speak today, from September 2017 to today, we own 31 countries as a cellular network, mobile virtual network. We own our network in 31 countries, which includes entire European Union, 26 European countries, UK, US, Canada, Mexico, and South Africa.
Jignesh, when you were building up, let's say the team, let's say, what are the challenges? Like one of the problem everybody says, you know, two problems, most of the startup fail, you know, get a right talent because you do not have that much bandwidth and brand and all this thing. Second is you cannot pay that much. Rest the big players are paying. Okay. And the culture is not there. How did you build up team and what are the challenges? How did you resolve those things? You know?
It's an amazing question. So basically, the way I see it is, if you look at the entire business model, right? So there are three verticals, and in the center sits the value proposition. Obviously, any startup you do, you are bringing a value proposition, or you are disrupting something which is very commonly being used by the consumers in the market, no matter what industry you are in, right? So let's keep value proposition at the center. On the left-hand side, I always felt that it was feasibility of the business. On the right-hand side was desirability of the business. And at the bottom would be the viability of the business. So now if we unpack all, and yes, I'm taking a slightly longer route to answer your question, but I'll come to the point. So if you now look at the feasibility of the business, is who are your key partners? What key activities will you do? What key resources you will have to deploy, you know, for the success of the business, or to create that value. On the right-hand side, when you talk about desirability, you speak about your customer segment, your channel, your customer relations, you know. And at the bottom part comes the viability, which is your cost structure and your revenue structure. So now if you plot that here it will be your key activities, key partners, and key resources. Below that will come cost structure. So now there is a very thin line in considering your team, whether it is a cost or an investment. So now I personally see it as a key resource. So I never thought that right talent could be expensive, because that is an investment. Talent can never be an expensive talent if you have done your job right. You know, most of the time what happens is, and we've done this in corporate world as well. I mean, especially you, sir, you've got vast experience. We go through that bell curve. So when you look at that bell curve, only 15% are far exceeding expectations. So those 15% people are dragging the organization in the right direction. Rest
Right.
85% are just going with the flow. So
Right.
now the journey begins to find those 15% people, you know, and when you actually identify correct 15% people, it's not
Hmm.
expensive because it is
Hmm.
an investment. If I invest, I invest for a 10x return argument's sake. If I invest in an individual, I'm sure that that person is going to deliver 10x return. Now,
Hmm.
if you see it as an expense, you will be sitting at the end of every month, I'm paying you $500,000 worth of salary. Why are you
Hmm.
not giving me the return? But that's an investment, you know. So that's the gamble or a risk that a startup takes or an
Hmm.
entrepreneur takes.
So how did you
So
find these people? How did you find these people? What is the
it's
method you? What is the method did you adopt to find these, talented, highly talented people in your
uh,
organization?
so I think there are two aspects. When you start as an entrepreneur, you always feel that good talent will always be expensive, and I can't afford. Number two is I can't afford them. Number three is I will not be able to convince them to leave their journey and join my journey. Basically, that's the fact, right? Whether you are
Hmm.
hiring an entrepreneur to work for you or you are hiring an employee, they are into their journey, and now you
Hmm.
are changing the path. And you know what happens is, I mean, it's a very typical example. If you sow a seed into a soil, let's say
Hmm.
you sowed a seed into Bangalore, and
Hmm.
then a small plant comes out, you will pull it out of the root, and now you will take it to the state of Gujarat and try and seed it again.
Hmm.
Now, more likely the chances are that the plant will die.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
so when you are uprooting that plant, you have to make sure that when you take it to the new soil, it is a very familiar environment for that person. Otherwise, the plant will die.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
So that applied to any recruitment that we did. I think the
Hmm.
first aspect you as an interviewer or an entrepreneur have to consider is you don't have to be afraid of failing, because you
Hmm.
can go and speak to the CEO of Forbes Africa and he has all the right to say no to you, you know, but you don't have to
Hmm.
be afraid to speak to any person, number one. And I think to me personally, relationship equity has helped me a lot. And
Hmm.
I'm continuously using this word in my life now, relationship equity, because I consider that equity, and a lot of people don't. And I'll give you a very quick example. Let's say I have a strong relationship with you, and one
Hmm.
of my friend comes and says, "Can you please introduce me to Hanuman sir because he will be very very helpful to me." And my
Hmm.
answer to him would be, "Look, I have got very good relationship with Hanuman sir, but I
Hmm.
don't want to use that relationship for you because I am keeping it for myself."
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
where we make the mistake. You know, when you talk about relationship equity, it
Hmm.
grows when you use more. It grows when
Yeah.
you use more. So it's not about a selfish
Fantastic.
thing that I will not introduce you to Hanuman sir because that is my resource. Then it is
Hmm.
my resource, not my relationship equity. So
Hmm.
that's how step by step I moved on. And I think you can definitely attract the right talent if you passionately believe in your bigger picture vision. You know, if
One
you
last
know
question.
you will believe.
One last question before I go to the Rohit.
Sure.
Okay. Now, one question is like when you were raising, one of the entrepreneurs, face a problem of raising capital. Okay,
Hmm,
convincing.
hmm.
So what are the challenges do you have, and how did you raise the money? And second question, follow-up question: when you deciding the territory, how did you decide the UK and South Africa and this one? How did you arrive that decisions? Choosing the
So,
destination.
कोको कोला पेप्सी के दिन पे ले जाओ, आप मुझे ले जाओ.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So basically, when it comes to fundraising, most of my funds in the current business are from the three founders. So me and a couple of friends. So it was
Hmm.
relatively easier, because we were all aligned onto the same bigger picture vision, you know. But I think,
Hmm.
in my opinion, when you look at funding, there are various modes of funding, right? You can go to the angel investors, you can go to the VCs, and they all have different requirements. And
Hmm.
it's basically to me it's a typical sales deal, whether you are convincing someone to invest in your business or you are selling your product. It's
Hmm.
basically you're selling, you know.
Yeah.
And the core fundamental of selling, which normally people forget when they are looking for funding, is you
Hmm.
might have 10,000 features of your business, which is your idea, your timing, your team. But until you align those features that could be beneficial to the consumer,
Hmm.
you cannot sell, you know. And same thing
Hmm.
applies here. Here we don't have a consumer, but we have an investor. So unless and until you can speak the same language of an investor, no matter you
Hmm.
have 10,000 features, you will not be able to show the benefits to the investor, you know.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
mean, see that the industries have matured. I mean, even if you look at, I'm not going to Silicon Valley at the moment, but if you look at UK market, if you look at EU, European Union market, or for that matter now Indian market as well, now it's not like what you used to be 2010, where I'm investing now and every month an investor will be sitting on your shoulder. What is happening to my money? Now they understand that there is a runway that we need to provide. I mean, look at Uber example. They were very, very upfront when they raised those $120 billion via an IPO, saying that we will still not make money. So I think honesty, showing the correct path to your investor would definitely do wonders. And you know, as I say, if you passionately believe in your bigger picture vision, it will be translating when you speak to people around you. You know.
So how much you have raised till date? How much you have raised for your?
For Next360, if I talk about, we have we've not raised much. We've raised about $20 million so far. And I think the valuation at the moment would be slightly over $100 million, looking at the licenses, the spectrums that we own or we rent. So we've raised about 20% of the funding, and that's the amount of equity I believe
Okay.
but during ACM Gold, we did raise over $300 million from various investors. It was angel investment, it was VC from Silicon Valley, a couple of investors from European Union as well. So yeah, I mean, all in all, I think I've been involved in deals worth around $150 million, apart from our own money that we have been putting, you know. Because to me, my first investor was my friend, so that was also an investment. However, I don't consider that as an investment.
Okay. So how did you choose the UK? Like I remember I used to talk to you. You choose the UK, you know, and then South Africa, and then you went suddenly entire the European countries. You know.
So see, the logic was very simple, and that's why I said that you are dragging me to those Pepsi and Coca-Cola days, because even if we had to recruit a small distributor, we used to start with market mapping, you know, those market reach and product penetration. So then, since we were focusing on global traveler and our vision was to make it simple for a global traveler by providing them roam-free connectivity and banking solutions, we decided to start mapping the market. And if you look at now, so my distribution focus was India, China, Russia, and my connectivity targets were Europe, so entire EU, UK, US, and South Africa, because 60% of the global traveling from country A to country B happens into these countries.
Yeah. Okay. Rohit, over to you. 9 minutes.
Yeah, so with last 10 minutes left, so couple of very simple questions. I mean, so Jig, like, I mean, how did you celebrated your first win at Next360? What did you guys did?
Amazing. So we were a young startup. We decided, you know, first of all, we were going through a proof of concept stage, you know. So we were looking at whether the consumer will pick up our SIM card or not. So first thing we did was we created massive retail presence at both the international airports in Cape Town and Johannesburg, which didn't go very well with competition. So Vodafone, being the market leader here, they did a lot of regulatory things to close down that, but we were very, very prepared. So we had our trademarks and copyrights done. So we used to market ourselves saying South Africa's best tourist network. And Vodafone actually in those days started copying us by pulling out banners out of their stores at the airport saying that we are the best tourist network, you know. And then we went into a legal battle. I made sure that the CEO of Vodafone came into my office to apologize, and then they pull out all those banners out of the market. Hanuman sir will very, very clearly understand this because of Pepsi Coca-Cola war, but that was a first major win, and we still remember that, and it is very close to our heart. To give competition to the market leader in first 3 weeks of your existence into the market was a massive tick, you know. And now they definitely, whatever we do in the market, Vodacom will be the first one to take us very, very seriously.
Yeah, Rohit, next question.
Yeah. So and how does doing business in South Africa different from doing back home in Gujarat?
Amazing.
Are the basic principles same, or there's something really different out there?
You know, one of my Punjabi friend actually calls Africa as Africa. You know that Punjabi tone, Africa, and then he breaks down Africa into Afrika. So Africa is A or Frika, whereas Gujarat is competition. Gujarat is tough competition. You know, cutthroat. You will hire someone who will get trained from you, and in 6 months' time, he will be your competition. So that's Gujarat for you.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, in your personal life, Jignesh, like, I mean, what do you like doing? I mean, because being an entrepreneur, it's actually a tough life. I mean, it takes a lot of energy, time, and resources from oneself. So, how do you manage balance your tough situations, physical, mental? I mean, what do you do?
See, I think so. I will take two shots to answer this. One is there is nothing to be balanced because you're living your passion. Number one. So as they say, I mean, I still remember one of the advertisements that we did at Pepsi where the cricketers were saying that we eat, breathe, and sleep cricket. So I eat, breathe, and sleep my passion. So I mean, I don't need much to be balanced because I enjoy what I do day in and day out. However, to get a brain break, so I use this word to get a brain break. I mean, everyone looks at a physical break. Your brain also needs a break. So I love playing golf. And if you will not find me negotiating a deal or finding a solution for the business, I will be probably fine tuning my golf swing at the golf course.
Okay.
Interesting.
Sakshi, you have got any question?
Nothing, sir. I am just very much struck at when Jignesh sir told that he buy the airline. So sir, I just wanted to know like that how did the idea came that you want to venture into the airline business after doing and going to South Africa? It was a very different thing to do.
And I like that question, Sakshi, because this something, if you put it in my overall profile, this is a very negative aspect of it. But whenever I speak, I don't feel ashamed about that failure, and most of the questions I get is on that airline. So to answer your question, once we tasted the success at fintech or a financial services at a very early stage. Why I say early stages? Because 2012 in South Africa, fintech was a jargon. Trust me. I mean, no one knew
Right.
what fintech would be in an African continent. And then we said, okay, now since we have made some money, but people still don't take us seriously. I mean, when we became a billion dollar company globally, then someone from CNBC Africa said that if you advertise on our channel, we will publish your interview. And I was like, why should I pay for my interview? So then we said, what are the two industries that people can, or those media people can come behind you? And we chose airline, unfortunately, but we still feel that we were the proud owner of an airline for 100 days.
Awesome.
Right, sir.
That's an achievement.
4 minutes is left out. Rohit, any questions?
No, I think it was a pretty
What is it?
interesting session.
What is the next the next journey like, Jignesh? How did you you know have handled the COVID? I know the travel because your most business was related to travel, and I believe you have took an opportunity. Now you went to completely massive selling, SIM card in the South Africa post
Yeah.
COVID. You utilize the situations.
So I think when COVID hit us, the first thing I could think of, and that was my first email as a CEO to the employees when we spoke about COVID, that we will first promise we made to ourselves is we will never lay off any people from our family, because we don't call that as an employee. Next 360 is a family. So we ensured that. Second part, I thought that it is now time that we can't just focus on smart goals. We have to look at fast goals as well. So you have to adapt quickly. And that's
Yeah.
how this pivot happened. And we spoke about local businesses now. And that came out of three different angles again. So one is BIW, not BMW, BIW, which is what are you best in the world at? When you are doing something which is you are best in the world at, no one can beat you. People can be at par with you, but cannot be above you, because you are best in the world at that one thing. Second point was, what are you passionate about? So best in the world and your passion, when that mixes, now you only have to look for one thing, how you are best in the world and your passion can be translated into your bank balance. And that was very natural in me being a Gujarati. So then we decided, okay, let's look at, and I think the best way of funding to any business obviously is to get money from your customer. So we said, okay, how we can turn the tables down, and I think the situation has supported us. I mean, if you look at country like South Africa, the data consumption after COVID went up by 40%, which means your internet usage has gone up by 40%. And then we just fighting for a very small pie. I mean, we fight with Vodacom, but we still a very small player, so it doesn't affect them bigger time. And we are staying afloat. And then we can't wait for things to get normal, which I see, because most of the European countries are now opening up their international borders for travelers. So we'll get back to, because our icing on the cake still remains on that global traveler business, because that's a high ARPU business. However, we are learning a lot of stuff from local competition as well, which we in any case would have done at phase 5 or 6. So now we preponed our phase 5 to make sure that we deliver what we have planned to,
Thank you, Jignesh. Thank you. Was a very I hope that your journey will help so many people's. Okay.
I hope so as well.
Yeah, your journey is inspiring journey. From the Pepsi to the, having the so many countries, 31, 33 countries, MBNO. Okay, and that's a great journey. Raising a $20 million. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.